Welcome to Happier ADHD. My name's Marley Darling. I'm a second generation neurodiversity expert with over 17 years experience, and now I'm raising my own neurodiverse kids. You'll notice that I call the podcast a few different things, but we always explore these same topics that I've been looking at for the last 17 years. Psychology, mindset, neurodiversity, personal development, health and well-being, business, parenting, and more. So, without further ado, let's jump in. Hello and welcome to the ADHD Energy Empress podcast. My name's Marley Darling, and this is the positive, empowering place to learn to master all forms of your energy to really live a really fulfilling life while having ADHD. I've got ADHD and am on the autism spectrum myself, and I'm a single parent homeschooling 24/7, raising my two kiddos who experience both those things as well. And if I didn't say just a second ago, my name is Marley Darling. If you just listened to the last podcast episode, I just recorded that not that long ago. I went out to my kids, started getting them ready for bed, and then they were hungry again. But I used positive mindset, some breathing, got through a couple struggles, and decided, well, if they're just going to be sitting there eating for another little while, I'm going to make the most of this time and just sneak off and record the next podcast episode. And I also brainstormed some structure for the podcast as well. So that's really exciting. And I'm glad I used my time that way because something that's on my mind, which I think is going to be the first little section of the podcast, something that's on my mind is making use of time and not having those little moments of wasted time, but also using moments to nourish yourself. Because I've spent a lot of time standing around in the kitchen, waiting for my kids to make decisions. And in those moments, it can be really easy just to reach for a phone and do some scrolling, or to stand around and get frustrated, or to just really spend a lot of time and not notice the time passing, or not notice how those little moments add up. So I like to use that time when I'm on the horse. I'm going to use that saying, like off the horse, on the horse. When I'm on the horse, when I'm really mindful and making good choices and feel like things are going well, I'm using those little moments to listen to a podcast or pick up a book or do something that's more nourishing for myself rather than draining for myself. And we often think that scrolling is fulfilling because it gives us those little bursts of dopamine, but it's really mixed and messy. I encourage you to pay attention to how you feel when you're using social media and the internet, and whether it feels like it's draining you or energizing you, or maybe a mix of both, and what emotions and thoughts it's bringing up. There's an interesting song about the internet and how it can give you any kind of emotion, give you any kind of information, this or that, and listening to that song is an absolute roller coaster. And you don't realize when you're scrolling that sometimes the internet is taking you on a little emotional roller coaster and a dopamine roller coaster as well. So switching that out can be a really great way to do things. It can have a very positive impact on you and your mood and your life. So an achievement or breakthrough for this week, that's the next section I want to roll into, is that my kids have been getting along quite well. Their communication is increasing. We seem to have these spirals where either kind of spiraling slowly up or spiraling slowly down. And it's like a snowball on a hill. It gathers things and it can either get worse and worse or better and better. And at the moment it's getting better and better. My daughter just came to say, "Hey Mum, if you notice that bag is down on the floor, it's just because I needed to get something out of it." And so she came to tell me that. She's been communicating a few times, just little things like that, saying, "Oh, hey, I know this thing happened. I'm just letting you know it's because of this," or, "Oh, I need help with this thing." And that may seem really basic, but it's kind of a huge thing because that doesn't always happen in our household. There's a lot of lack of communication about those things. There's no apologies for the wrong thing done. Often there's just silences if something's pointed out, or it's asked, could you do this thing? It's just said no, or there's demand avoidance or whatever. Like there's a lot of stuff. To just have that little acknowledgement, that communication feels like a relief, a breath. It feels like we're on the same page and she's starting to understand and listen from my point of view as well and show just a little bit more respect about things. So that's really cool. That's a huge achievement. And as for my kids getting along, the last couple of days they've been playing pretend, like these elaborate games, just talking and communicating well with each other, which is a huge thing, because on the opposite side of things, sometimes they're, physically grabbing each other, annoying each other, climbing on each other, getting in each other's space, really just ticking each other off, or complaining about each other, kind of bullying each other. It can be kind of mean, like it's not malicious, but it's not positive or nice to be around either. So it's really nice to see them on that positive trajectory and getting along. Like there were 2 whole days there where I didn't know what to do with myself, because they were just like, no, Mum, we're playing together. We've got these ideas, these plans, and I wasn't needed, which was kind of nice. And also kind of why I'm back here with the podcast, because I think, well, I could make use of that time, and that freed up emotional energy as well. So that's a huge achievement, huge breakthrough. Looking forward to that continuously improving. But the thing with neurodiversity is things don't always continually improve. Sometimes there's a few steps back. So I'm going to use that terminology, I think, about getting on the horse, being off horse, and remounting the horse as well, because sometimes we can have a strategy that will quickly get us back to start improving again or get back on the horse. But the next little section I want to move into is the biggest struggle of this week. I can't necessarily think back on the whole week because of poor memory recall, but the thing I'm experiencing tonight, and I know that has been a bit of a struggle a lot, is late nights and bedtime routines. I used to be really strict on bedtime routine because I had to be. My kids have had sleep troubles, ended up having to have elaborate bedtime routines and some melatonin involved, but I relaxed on that last year because it was nice to have them around and be more flexible and go out in the evenings. And they're at an age now where if they're awake in the evening, they'll be reading or playing, and I can just read or watch some TV, which is really cool. It's a different way of doing things, but it means I get less alone time. So it's nice when there's balance. That's a bit of a struggle sometimes, is not having any full me time after they go to sleep. I usually go to sleep around the same time as them, or sometimes have a bit of mindless television just in bed, which isn't quite the same as actually getting up, sitting maybe in the lounge room and relaxing. But aside from that, because I do get to relax in the evenings when they're awake still, as long as mentally I relax, is that it can just be really hard when the evening routine takes so long. I guess that's what I'm saying, when I'm not mentally relaxed, because I'll make dinner, I might be fuss over dinner, clean up, might sit around reading or avoiding tasks and demands and the bedtime routine. And when they do start to kick into gear, suddenly they're hungry again. So that's happened tonight. They wanted to have more food again, which is kind of fine. I'm glad I'm stressing less about things like that and not getting quite so worked up and feeling like, I need to get them to bed so I can relax, because that's how I felt when they were younger. I needed them to go to bed so I could feel relaxed, like they weren't going to need me. There wasn't going to be any massive challenges. I couldn't quite relax so much when they were awake, or they needed like full-on supervision. So I would literally just stand there waiting till they were ready to go to bed. Or if I was clever, I would read a book. If I was not clever, I would scroll on my phone. So it's kind of working, but I would really love if evening dinner routine didn't take like several hours and the whole bed, like if it were just me, I could eat my dinner in like 20 minutes, have my pajamas on, do my teeth. It would not take so long. Like it's 8:30 and I was cooking them dinner at 4:30. So it's just a huge chunk and a bit of a drain on the energy and the emotions and the brain. So that's the biggest struggle, I reckon, this week. The next section is hacks and strategies, and this is where I'll talk about a new hack or strategy I'm using, one that I've tested or one that I've been using for a while and it's working steadily, or maybe I'll suggest a little switch this for that, because I love the easy shifts that just make the biggest difference in life. So the hack I want to share for this week is listening to podcasts or music or an audiobook, something auditory while you get a task done. I love doing this. I do this this all the time. I love my podcasts because it stimulates the brain, but I don't need to think too hard, and it quiets my thoughts because I'm focusing on what the people are saying. It kind of directs my thoughts. I love it so much. I do it while I drive. I do it while I do housework. I was doing it tonight while I was cooking because I just needed a little bit of a mental and emotional break. Some brain food as well. It can also be great when you're doing just any task that's boring or mundane, or you don't feel motivated to do, like exercise. I like to listen to something when I exercise. It varies on my mood. I like podcasts because they kind of have substance but not too much, whereas an audiobook you kind of need to follow along. Or having music on, you barely need to follow it all, but that has more effect on your mood, and you can really influence your mood, which can be good for exercising. You can really pump up your mood. Yesterday, I put on some really pumped up music before I exercised, and I danced for 5 minutes before I got into the resistance training, and I felt excellent afterwards. I think that little burst of cardio really increased the endorphins, and I remembered how much I love endorphins. It felt great, and it was just fun. And I danced with my kids, and it made them happy and connect with me and feel playful. So it was hitting all those goals and intentions that I really want to, be feeling and embracing in my life. So that's the little hack and strategy. I know that's a super obvious one. You probably already thought of it before, but if you haven't, I thought I'd just start with that one because it is on my mind. And if you haven't thought of it before, it's a really, really great one. Just in general, pairing something you don't really want to do with something that kind of makes it easier and nicer and more enjoyable, that's excellent. And that can be done in other ways if you don't like auditory things. Like you could wear your favorite or coziest clothes while you do something because it makes you feel better. Like dopamine dressing, wear something colorful and makes you feel happy. Or you could wear some essential oil or something. Like I think what I'm saying is play into the senses or multitask in a way that uses different parts of your brain. I think that's what I'm saying is the hack. I just want to expand it to kind of help. I guess I'm maybe overthinking and also having the coach's curse where I just assume everyone knows everything as well. But anyway, that is the hack for this week, and I'm going to move along. Now here's a section for a listener question or a challenge or something. So the question for this week is how to use your phone less, because it's obviously a massive source of dopamine. There are some hacks and ways to do this. We want to be using our phone rather than having our phone use us. And there's a way to look at technology, like if the app is helping us do something in the world, it sucks you in a lot less and it's being useful to you. But if it's something that your entire focus is just on the screen and you feel like you are going into it, you're not so much using it. So there's like those practical apps, like I've mentioned other times. I've got habit apps, exercise apps, music apps, stuff like that. But I turn them on and my focus is more on the real world, as opposed to like watching TV, scrolling social media, reading on my phone, that kind of stuff. A few things I can suggest to stop using your phone so much is turn on the grayscale or black and white setting in your settings. If your phone doesn't have that setting, you can download apps that do that. Make your phone look boring. The less colors, the less dopamine your brain is going to release. Clear up your home screen so there is nothing on it or all the apps are in folders. I like to have a nice picture in the background of nature or my kids because it makes me happy, but also I probably don't look at it that much. If I was really trying to cut down on my phone, I'd probably just have a boring black background. And then something that I have on my phone is what do I have at the moment? I have a few apps that track how long I've been on my phone. So I've got Your Hour, which is the first one I was using, but I've kind of more moved to Stay Focused because that can lock individual apps based on how much time you use them for. Or if you want to have a goal-based thing like 10 minutes on an educational app first, or limit it by how much you want to open the app that hour, that can be really useful. Don't teach yourself how to change that setting because it can be a bit, you can get into the habit of just changing on the spot, which is not good. But you can also go into the stay focused setting where you can have it so all your phone is locked apart from the essential apps, which I really like that. Forest is another cool app for that as well. Basically with Forest, you set a tree to grow while you're not using your phone, so you can go off and do productivity just be productive and focused in your real life. I like to use Forest when I want to set my phone down and use the Pomodoro method, which is doing something for 20 minutes and then taking a break, and have time away from my phone, because then I pick it up, I see that the tree's growing, and I'll just leave it until the time is done. It helps me stay away from my phone. It's a bit more positive and fun than stay focused, and kind of just a different vibe to it as well. And the last thing I want to say is, if you want to spend less time on your phone, figure out why you're using your phone, what need it's meeting. Think about how you feel when you pick up your phone. It could be boredom, it could be filling time. I notice that sometimes I will want to scroll Facebook to deal with frustration. I just want a bit of escapism. So notice whatever that feeling is and what you could switch it for. So when I'm bored, I will look for something else to do. I like to have a book on the go. Having a book on the go is an excellent strategy. And you know how you take your phone with you everywhere you go, so it's easy to pick up? If you have a book in an awkward place or like hidden away in your bedroom, of course you're not going to pick it up, or you might pick it up to read at bedtime or whatever. Put it in a really convenient spot. When I get up in the morning, I will get my book, I will carry it out, I will sit it on the bench with my phone. So sometimes I'll go to my phone, but I see the book's there and I think, well, why am I getting my phone? Don't need to do anything on it, but I've got 5 minutes, I might pick up my book instead. Or it could be anything. It could be an instrument, it could be a drawing book, it could be a journal, it could be, I don't know, even like some kind of thoughtful stone, or like you could attach something off your phone that's like those rocks you have in your pocket to make you more mindful, or like even a fidget toy or something. If it's that kind of, if you're stressed, maybe you'll have a squishy phone case. I don't know. You could probably get some sensory stuff like that. Think about what the need is, why you're doing it, if you really want to be doing it, or if there's something else to do better. That's my hack around using your phone less. You can also get phone cages as well if you want to go extreme, like put the phone in something different, or you could put a rubber band around the phone, or even a thing of masking tape that says only use if you need to. Depends how extreme it is and how much you want to cut down, but those are some suggestions that you can think about. The next section, I want to do like a life check-in. So the last podcast episode, I ran through the areas of health and then like social fun, and parenting and a bit of business. So I want to have this section where I don't necessarily go as into depth as last time, but I might make a few little points about each thing. And I also want to cover mood and mindset, also home and productivity as well. I don't want the podcast to go for super long, so I'm just testing things out this episode, guys. So in health, exercise has been going great, but the one demerit, I'm not sure what I want to call these. I stole demerit from Gretchen Rubin, but I can call it like a yay or a nay, but I don't know. But anyway, the one like kind of more negative thing this week is that I strained myself. I did exercises I shouldn't have been doing with my shoulder, and I need to focus on rehab. But the positive side of things is that I've been exercising consistently. I started using the Sweat app, which tells me the 3 days a week to exercise, then another day to kind of have cardio or something more relaxed, and then a rest day. So I'll actually have a rest day. So that's really great. I just shouldn't have pushed so hard on the shoulder. I did decide to be doing more leg exercises, and I just got excited from the dance party I had before I did my exercise. So that's something I'm going to be more mindful of, is looking after my body. In social and fun, I went on a walk today that I really love spending time with, and that was really great to do. So low key, chat a little bit without it being too in depth. We get to nature, encourage a walk. So sometimes it helps to have people to get that extra motivation, and making that a goal to get out more. I don't really think to ask people, hey, do you want to go for a walk? But when you build that kind of relationship, you start asking each other and you go more and you get out more, and I'm looking forward to doing more of that because I love nature and I love seeing the animals, and I like the delight I feel when I see something unexpected. That's what I really like about having little adventures like that. In parenting, I've got a few different sections, but like I said, can't cover everything every week. But tonight I want to talk about communication and verbalizing I statements, because I just did this just before. I was feeling stressed, and it's really important or valuable in communication when we use I statements rather than putting things onto someone else. So my daughter was frustrated, she was hungry and she needed something to read, and it was bedtime, and I was feeling stressed because she wanted me to sort out the reading issue before sorting out the food, but food can be difficult because I list off all these things and they just say no, and it's hard, and we were kind of looped in that way twice. And then I thought, hang on, I've got to do something differently. So I said, well, actually before I thought I have to do something differently, I said, you're putting all your emotions onto me and I'm getting quite stressed about it. Now, I did say a you statement first. That is a blame statement. If I said it again, I would say I'm feeling quite stressed, and I feel like your emotions, I'm taking on your emotions, or something like that, or I'm feeling stressed about it. Point is, I noticed myself say that statement, and that I was verbalizing and communicating my feelings rather than just getting frustrated and arguing and saying, well, I don't know what food and I'm feeling stressed about the food. It wasn't about the food. It was about the interaction and the communication. So the next thing I said was, can we work together to solve this? Because it's about working as a team, and I had gone into argument mode and feeling like this was a problem. It's important to work together as a team against the problem, not to both feel like we're against the problem and kind of against each other as well. So can we work together to solve this? Doesn't say you need to decide on this thing, doesn't make me feel like I need to fix this problem for you. It's, can we work on this together? And oh my God, it worked. There was quiet for a minute, and I said, okay, I'm going to sort out the book thing, and do you have any ideas for food? And yes, she did. She had a suggestion. So rather than me listing all this stuff off, I just asked her, did she have an idea? Not what are you going to eat? What's the solution? Just, do you have any ideas? I got her the food, and I acknowledged the situation and that we had handled it well. And I said, that's great that we just solved that together. Look how easy that was once we'd switched mode a little bit. And I helped her get the things out, and I settled her down, and it worked. I statements are super, super valuable, communicating how you're feeling, taking a little bit of a step back as well, and not feeling like it's your problem, piling the guilt on, or not even guilt, but this sense of urgency. I always notice that I'm most stressed when I feel urgent, like I urgently need to solve a problem because it's just going to get bigger and I have to deal with this person's emotions and I can't relax until it's solved. Oh, I've got to fight this problem. But we can actually take a step back and be calm while the problems happen and let go of that sense of urgency and calm down our brain, because our brain works better when it's not stressed. Cortisol shuts off the prefrontal cortex, which is the thinking part of the brain. So it's so much harder to deal with problems when you're stressed, near impossible. And we solve the problem. And I would like to handle things like that more often. So I'm sharing that with you here because that's super valuable. Next section, over in home and productivity, getting stuff done, keeping clean, that kind of stuff. I'm going to share an ongoing problem that I have. It's book mess. My kids read a lot. They'll come out of the bedroom with a stack of books ready to read, and I'll say, there's no way you're reading that many novels at once. I wish, my older child especially, I wish she would just get like 3 books, I said. 3 books max is what I've said over the years, and then she can put them back on the shelf. She could feel capable if it wasn't so many damn books. But she insists on getting a whole stack. She does read them all. She reads a lot, but she doesn't quite realize it would be relatively easy to walk back to get the other book and put that book back on the shelf. So we just end up with piles of books around the house, and then we have to deal with it all in one go, and it's a lot. And I've tried a few different strategies, but it's an ongoing problem. I'm not even going to suggest a strategy for that at the moment. I'm in the mode of just letting it go, see what happens. I'm open to suggestions. Just gonna plonk that here, let you know about it. It's been an issue for we have a lot of books. We are big readers. Okay, moving on. In business and productivity, what I'm going to say about that is making the most of little snippets of time and getting into the habit of grasping onto them. So it's pretty easy for me to make this podcast, just to find that time, squeeze it in. I don't like scheduling because my brain resists, and I feel like, I might not be in the mood or something might come up. And it's amazing when I make the most of those, how much I can get done. So depending on what you want to be productive in, whatever your business or creative pursuit is, make the most of those little moments. Find the time. Sometimes you don't quite notice that you actually have available of time unless your life is scheduled. Even if it is, you have time to train, to dinner, take away some scrolling time. If you use some of those apps like Your Hour that I mentioned earlier that tracks how much time you're using or you're spending, you might actually realize you want to get rid of some scrolling time, spend more time playing guitar or whatever it may be. I know I said this is business and productivity, but that's particularly how I like to do things. The more I do it, the more I get on a roll and I'll actually get done. So I really, one goal for this year is that I'd like to publish on Amazon. I haven't got the momentum to get started, but one of the things I was going to do is get used to just having my laptop around. Like I mentioned earlier, getting the book out on the bench in the morning, having my laptop there and just getting used to just writing something in the spare moments. Haven't done it yet, but I am doing it with the podcast at least. So that's my little suggestion there, is to integrate it into your life so that when you have time, you're used to doing it. If it feels like a big deal to start writing a book or to, launch your business, just do the first little step. Open your laptop, open a document, type the heading, whatever it might be. Do that one first step and just, I don't know what the saying is, like crack the door open, like dip your toe into the pool and make that progress like a tortoise, like I'm going to do with my word of the year this year. Just do that little bit and start to familiarize yourself so it doesn't feel like that brick wall is in the way quite so much. Okay, mood and mindset. In my mood and mindset at the moment, just PMS time. And I noticed the last couple of days is when I want to watch movies or start a reality TV, a reality TV show, which is interesting. I don't really like doing those things usually. I'm feeling quite lethargic. You know how it is if you experience the same thing. So that's been my mood the last couple of days, but also kind of sometimes I feel down and positive at the same time because I'm kind of have a positive mindset, but sometimes I can feel content and chipper with a negative mindset as well. I don't know. It's funny how thoughts and feelings don't always line up exactly, but I'm glad usually to have a mix and not be fully one way or the other. So anyway, been a little bit down, been a little bit irritable. That's something I don't love at the moment is I really don't like being snappy at my kids, so that's a demerit in that way, but I've also been praising them, noticing positive things more the last day or two as well, but definitely having that emotional regulation and using those I statements and verbalizing and taking a break are really important as well. And also just they call it repairing the relationship afterwards, just saying sorry and acknowledging and saying what's happening and saying, it's not your fault. I shouldn't have behaved that way. I'm sorry I did. And, here's what we can do moving forward, or here's what I'll do next time. That's just a brief overview of a repairing relationship. So yeah, that's been my mood and mindset at the moment. Also a little bit tired because the kids keep staying up quite late, which means I stay up a bit later. And another playing into mood and mindset sometimes is TV and how much I read. I started watching TV again where I had been reading before bed. I noticed that has a bit of an impact, especially the TV show is kind of a bit negative-ish. I started watching Friends from college and it's not quite as comedy sitcom-y that I thought. It's kind of slightly negative, if you know what I mean. Just get slightly negative vibes. It just doesn't boost my mood or make me feel great because there's kind of heavier emotion. I guess people aren't necessarily treating each other that fantastically. So content like that in television me a bit as well. And I'm going to try and watch less and watch it earlier and read a little bit afterwards can be really helpful as well. And go to sleep early enough would be good. And I'm really looking forward to when I go to sleep at a good time. And when I'm waking up, I love that feeling of starting the day where I've had me time, excited to see them, excited for them to wake up. The nice way to start. At the moment, I don't quite feel up for maybe I could set a goal to try and sneak out of bed before them. There is the thing that can happen where they just start waking up even earlier because I'm awake. So it's good to get a balance where they're sleeping at a time where I can have a little bit of evening time and a little bit of morning time. But we'll see how that goes. That's mood and mindset for me at the moment. And I'm not going to say any outright suggestions or hacks to you because I kind of mentioned a little in there just in relation to me and what I'm doing for them at the moment. So resources and consuming media. At the moment I'm watching Friends from College and I'm reading Life Keeps Me Dancing by Eileen somebody. That's super inspiring and I'm loving it. She's 108 years old and she says, I'm not old, I've just been here a long time. And she talks about Sydney when she was growing up, so like 1920s. Which is super cool, and she's just positive and inspiring, and she's a dancer. I think she's still dancing, which is super cool. I really like that. That's really positive. So a few pages of that before bed is excellent. In terms of podcasts that I'm listening to, what did I listen to? I think I'm basically listening to Happier in Hollywood and Happier Ladies at the moment. And I've just started re-listening to the How Come podcast with Romy Casimir, which is about relationships and intimacy. I find that really interesting, and there's a lot of talk about communication, self-improvement around sexuality, basically. And I think that's all the podcast episodes, all the podcasts I'm listening to. So that's all the media I think I'm consuming at the moment, and just music. I'm not going to tell you what music I'm listening to all the time because that's too long a list. 2 more sections. The next section is letting go of something or having a new goal. And inspired by tonight's conversation with my youngest, I want to let go more of kids piling their emotions onto me and me feeling like something is my fault and my problem. It can be helpful to ask who owns this problem, because then you can kind of have a clear view of things. So, for example, if a child has a messy room, you can start to feel very frustrated about it, but when you step back and realize it's actually their problem. If it doesn't affect you, it's not your problem, it's their problem. With my daughter needing or wanting a snack, that's not a me problem, that's a her problem. And she can feel emotional, but I don't need to feel guilty or like a bad parent because I'm not suddenly magically having the exact snack she wants in front of her without her actually telling me. I'm not magic, I'm not a mind reader. And having this perspective and letting that go can stop some of that frustration, because sometimes I feel bad and that urgency as well, like I can't fix this problem. It's not as big a problem sometimes as someone's making out, especially if they're neurodiverse or very sensitive and have big emotions. It's fine to have big emotions, it's fine to express them. As the other person, we don't need to take them on, and if we don't take them on, it's actually easier to help them. So another question I ask myself is, am I doing my best? Am I being reasonable here? Are they being reasonable? And if they were an adult, would I let them speak to me like that? And how would I respond? I'm obviously not going to respond how I would respond to an adult, because if adults are unreasonable, you can just walk away. You can't when it's your children, but it can give a little bit of perspective as well. So I just want to let go of taking on board those emotions and kind of feeling like I'm not doing a good enough job in relation to that, because gosh darn it, mothers and parents do a lot for their children, and they're usually doing their best and doing like 1,000 micro things every day. So I think it's definitely worth noticing and acknowledging all the things we do rather than the little mistakes like handing your child the wrong coloured spoon, for example. And last of all, I want to share something positive or gratitude or mindful moment of. So for me this week, that has been really noticing my kids playing and getting along and being just slightly older, getting into middle childhood where they're a little bit more independent and they still have challenges. I still need to help them with their social skills and their emotional regulation and their communication. But I'm noticing a little bit of maturity and change. I've had quite a few mindful moments this week where I've just looked at them, the back of their heads as they're walking on a bushwalk, or as they're playing, or as they're walking through the water, or as they're looking at, oh my gosh, another grateful moment. We saw a nudibranch, and I always call them nudibranches, but I don't know what the pronunciation is. It's a sea slug, and it looked like kelp. It was brown with green splotches, and it was like the size of my hand, and it was just in a rock pool. Super grateful, awesome moment. Kids were there, of course, because they're with me all the time. Beautiful nature moment, beautiful homeschooling moment, beautiful life moment. I just love seeing cool stuff. And if you don't like slugs, maybe you like nudibranch. There's some really cool ones. So yeah, that's what I'm grateful of. All these little moments of just being grateful that my kids are getting along and that we've got this life that we do. Because sometimes I don't get to relax my nervous system and take a step back and really notice it going smooth. So that's it. When things are going smoothly, and I can note how nicely things are. So there you have it, the first officially structured episode of ADHD Energy Empress. I like it. It gave me lots of things to talk about without rambling too much. I got to ramble mildly about a whole bunch of stuff. Cool. Thanks for listening. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. If you want to recommend it to someone, that would be totally awesome, because it's important to have listeners. I know I've got quite a few out there, but just seeing it grow is great. It gives me momentum, gives me reason to keep doing it, and having kind of that engagement to feel like I'm not just talking out into the void, as fun as that can be. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you again in the next episode. That's enough waffling for today. No, I don't know. I need to think of a sign-off message, and I've said that before. I hope you've enjoyed today's waffle. and you can join up and enjoy another one in next week's episode. So if you haven't already done, subscribe, get the notification button alarm thingy happening, and you'll hear my voice again then. Bye. So you've got neurodiverse kids in your life. You've probably noticed that they don't respond well to traditional parenting techniques or discipline or ways to get them motivated or to comply. Maybe you're tearing your hair out with stress and the same old struggles and fights and arguments every single day. Or perhaps you're feeling completely lost because you've tried absolutely everything and it just doesn't seem to work. These kids do not respond to behavior charts. They don't respond to power being asserted over them. What these kids need is something completely different. And what I'm going to suggest to you is you actually stop trying to change them. If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. And you cannot change these children. You cannot control their behavior. But if you change something around them, you change their environment, you change how you act, it will change how they react. It will change how they respond. If you change something, then no longer will you be stuck in this cycle of doing what you've always done and getting what you've always got. And those traditional methods do not work. So stop wasting your time and energy on them. I know you're looking for a solution and you feel like it's just not possible anymore, but let me tell you, I was in the exact same boat, and then I realized what we need is to do something radically different. My approach is to change the environment around them and to change how you interact with them, and that will have the biggest impact. It'll stop you feeling like your head is butting up against a wall, and it will start actually creating change with less effort. I believe in small, easy to implement shifts that create big change. So if you're interested in seeing what I have to offer, head over to marleydarling.com, and I've got a free webinar there for you to check out, and then comprehensive programs that cover everything I've learned in over a decade of parenting neurodiverse kids, and also in being a neurodiverse person myself who's been studying neurodiversity for over 17 years. I'm here to help you. I'm here to give a different approach, and I wholeheartedly believe that we need a radically different approach to support these children, to empower them to live the best lives possible, and to give you a bit of a break as the parent. So head on over to marleydarling.com, where you can find some free resources and maybe check out my comprehensive programs if you're ready to see a massive difference in your life through just some small shifts. See you there.